Welcome back into Foolish Media. I'm Serda. That's Mantis Joe over there stepping in once again for our guy Osita and Ron Hughley. They are out this week. So holding things down and be totally transparent. As we're recording this thing at a time, so we do not have any live Thursday night football take. Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Cincinnati Bengals, and I am desperate for Chase Brown to give me anything for the Bengals in my fantasy football lineup tonight. So no live reaction to Thursday night football, but I'm sure we'll have some thoughts later on in the week as we gear up for the Kansas City Chiefs to take on the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 7. It's the much anticipated return of Rashee Rice. Josh Simmons still out of Chiefs practice for personal reasons, so still not really sure what's going on there, but hope everything is okay with Josh Simmons. Joe, thanks for stepping in again. Appreciate you joining me. I don't know what that mantis mask was, but it looks like it's probably fun to wear at a rave or something.
It was unique. That's what it was. And, you know, we have to bring the energy on the intros. When you come to Foolish Club Media, you have to be prepared for some fun intros. You and I both are in a really rough fantasy football spot in a league that we shared together where I'm 1-5, you're 1-5. So this week is critical for us. We're still alive in guillotine, though. But the big conversation this week has been about Patrick Mahomes becoming the MVP favorite. And this week against the Raiders, a team that he historically destroys, is really important, obviously, for the standings, but it could also be a pivot point for him in the MVP race. Though I'll be honest, I think this could be the year for a running back MVP. I've got one in mind. I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. We want to have an MVP conversation a little bit here, and then got a couple other things we want to dive into before we get out of here today. But also we've got to do our fantasy football picks for Week 7. I won again last week, so Joe picked for Osita 2 weeks ago, and then Osita was mad because he lost. But then last week, I won with Drake May, Jonathan Taylor, and Rome Odunze. And Rome Odunze didn't even have a good game last week. It was one of his worst games of the season. But I won 56.1 to 51.5 as Osita picked Puka Nacua, and unfortunately, Puka Nacua went down with an injury and only had 4.8 points. So it was a tight one, but it's 3-2 now. I've got back-to-back wins, and I could tie this thing up after starting 0-3 against Osita. And then if he loses again this week, I'm sure he'll complain next week. But he had the opportunity to phone in the picks and did not. So Joe is making his selections for him once again. So the pressure's on Joe to not let him down. But Joe mentioned the MVP race, and I don't even if this was 15 years ago, like running back conversations would be had because running backs used to win MVP. They don't really do that anymore. And even recently we saw Cooper Kupp put together one of the most historical wide receiver seasons ever. And he still couldn't really get in the MVP conversation because it was just he'll just be offensive player of the year. And now really the MVP frontrunners, and this is a recent thing with Patrick Mahomes, who now is the legitimate odds-on favorite to win MVP according to the DraftKings Sportsbook. He's at plus 175. I think him and Josh Allen were closer earlier in the week, and Mahomes has really risen now as the Chiefs go 3-3 in the offense. Looks like it's catching fire as they get Rashee Rice back. But surprisingly, it's Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen tied at plus 300. And really, I think the case could be made that it should be Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield atop the MVP standings right now. And I don't think Josh Allen should be really quite in that conversation other than the fact that he won it last year and somebody's going, and that's just where people are going to be at with this thing because that's how MVP works.
Well, on the Josh Allen point, I'd be stunned if he won it this year because he won it last year. And if you look at the metrics, Lamar Jackson had a better case. It was just kind of Josh Allen's turn. So I don't think that Josh Allen is a legitimate contender. Like, he should be in the conversation, but I'd be stunned if he wins it. I think it'll be, let's get Patrick Mahomes' his legacy case. Let's get Baker Mayfield recognition for the unbelievable season he has, and he'd be my MVP today. But if Baker or Patrick Mahomes struggle, I could see a case to be made for Bijan Robinson, partially because what you mentioned about the running back game and the quarterback helping it. I don't think a lot of people believe that Michael Penix is that good at this point. Like, he had that really embarrassing 30-0 Carolina Panthers loss. And in my opinion, I could just see a case where, okay, we don't like Michael Penix, but Bijan could go for 2,000 yards, have the Saquon season from last year, and be an MVP type of player. Right? Christian McCaffrey finished in the top 3 just a few years ago. And Bijan, if he finished second or first, should Baker or Mahomes fall off, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think Bijan Robinson is a special player, but right now he's not even like the highest.
He's on pace to break Saquon's record
in MVP. Like, yeah, but he's also like he's third in rushing yards right now. Jonathan Taylor's number 1 in rushing yards. Jonathan Taylor's the top running back in the MVP odds. And Joe, Jonathan
Offensive Player of the Year.
Is it plus 10,000 for MVP right now?
We count receiving yards here.
Bijan Robinson is at plus 15,000 for MVP.
So right, it's the perfect time to buy in. He'll be at plus 7,000.
I don't disagree. Hopefully you got your Mahomes MVP bets in before he climbed to the top of the rankings, because now he's playing lights out and the offensive line's playing well, and the Chiefs are through like the brutal stretch of their schedule and are 3-3 and just seem like they are totally on the rise right now. So it's a big turning point really for the MVP conversation right now. We're through the first third of the NFL season, and now is when guys can really start to separate themselves, and we'll see who can like keep things going. Like, I don't disagree with you. Like, I think it's dumb that we've turned MVP into this just total quarterback conversation, and like nobody else stands a chance anymore. Like, I think running back should definitely still be in there, because you just don't see guys like go for 2,000 all-purpose yards that often. And when they do, like, they should totally get acknowledged for that and actually have an opportunity to try to get some awards and acknowledgement, other than just being like, oh, you get the consolation prize of Offensive Player of the Year. But it's just not going to happen. Like, let's be real here.
The dream is that you bet Bijan at whatever you said, plus 15,000, and then in a month, maybe 6 weeks, you have the opportunity to then bet an appropriate amount on Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield, maybe Josh Allen if he somehow finds himself in the mix, and then you can hedge. That's a profitable opportunity. I'm just saying Bijan is going to have a case, because Michael Penix was so embarrassing in that game that everyone watched that people are not going to give him the credit for the good game that he had last week. They're going to give it to Bijan, who had one of the best games of the season, admittedly.
I think Bijan would have to legitimately like break the rushing record and like do what Adrian Peterson did, which is like what the last time a running back won the MVP, it was like Adrian Peterson carried that Vikings team to the playoffs that year. Like, they had no business being in the playoffs, but Adrian Peterson was just ripping off 200-yard games week after week and carried them to the postseason with Christian Ponder as their quarterback.
Admittedly, I'm more just saying it's a good value opportunity. Like, I don't think that he will win. I think he has a case, and if he's plus 15,000 and you get him down to plus 1,000, you can just bet on the other guys. That's profit. And
it is like, because now it feels like as long as Mahomes keeps doing this, like in my mind, it feels like it's just like, okay, well, if Mahomes just keeps playing like this and the Chiefs offense is just explosive and unstoppable again, he's going to run away with this. But Baker Mayfield's the most interesting story in the NFL, specifically because it's like the Bucs are 5-1 right now, and their only loss is a really close game to the Philadelphia Eagles, which they easily could have won, and they could be the last undefeated team in the NFL. And they've done all this while being about as banged up as any team in the league. Like we talk about, like the Ravens have totally fallen apart. No team's quite as banged up as the Baltimore Ravens, but like the Detroit Lions last week against the Chiefs, it's like, well, their defense is totally decimated by injuries. And a lot of teams are dealing with tons of injuries right now, but the Bucs are near the top of the league in terms of injuries. And especially in their wide receiver room, where Chris Godwin probably just not going to be the same Chris Godwin ever again at this point of his career. Mike Evans, hamstring injury year after year. He may return this week. We'll see. But then Emeka Egbuka goes down with a hamstring injury, and they're down to Sterling Shepard and Tez Johnson is like their top receiving weapons. Bucky Irving has missed significant time and probably not going to be available this week still. Their offensive line's been super banged up. Like what Baker Mayfield has done for a guy that like came into the season, I think me and you both really like Baker Mayfield, like as a player and as a quarterback.
I wore his jersey on the Nightly Fakes last night.
But like he has always been, I think, viewed as like he's a competent like NFL starter and like can win you some games, but Baker's not a guy that like puts you over the top. And last season he was really, really good. And this season he's just been playing out of his mind. And so now the question is like, is this sustainable? Because like what he's doing, one, it's a credit to the Bucs, which are one of the best drafting organizations in the NFL, and they have been for a long time. Like that's why even in the post Brady era, they've remained competitive and been a playoff team because they're organizationally, they have really good decision makers and they're just a well-run football team. But it speaks a lot to like their drafting and developing that they've got this many guys. Cause the Chiefs, like we literally just saw them offensively tank for 2 straight years because they couldn't get it right in the wide receiver room. And the Bucs just keep losing all of these like all-star wide receivers, and Baker just keeps coming out here and balling. Like that touchdown pass to Tez Johnson last week was absolutely filthy. Like Baker has just been amazing this season, and it kind of feels unsustainable based off of the injuries that they're dealing with. But I hope he keeps it up because he's been one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch in the league this year.
Well, to that last point, it probably is unsustainable, but the fortunate part is that the injuries aren't going to last that much longer. Like you have Mike Evans coming back. Egbuka is not supposed to be out that long. Wirfs is going to come back. So it's not sustainable, but that they've done it so far helps them so much in the standings. I think they're easily the favorite for the 1 seed, the NFC. And on the Baker point, I don't know if you remember when we had a radio show together, me and our other producer, Julio, we debated Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen at the beginning of that draft. And I very much lost that debate in the long term. But Baker has an opportunity to make a Super Bowl before Josh Allen. And I'd almost make the Buccaneers the favorite. The Eagles don't look that good. Baker, I mean, he has the signature MVP play of the season with that scramble that he ran for on like 3rd and 14. That's the MVP play of the season. So he should be the favorite, in my opinion. And you look at the other guys, like Mahomes obviously could. My case for Bijan's probably just as like a fifth finish.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, I don't see it with that defense, and because he won last year. Lamar's gone. I think it's basically a Mahomes or Baker race, and this is the Baker season. Like everyone feels it. You feel the energy when it's a singular player season. This is like that.
And yeah, like I agree that Lamar's done. Like you just can't miss this amount of time and like rebound enough to where it's gonna put you over the top. Like I thought through the first 2 weeks of the season, I was like, man, is this the year Justin Herbert like makes that ascension?
I did too. Yeah.
And their offensive line injuries and running back injuries and all of that stuff has just like totally brought them back down to earth, where after the first 2 weeks, it was like, oh, this might be one of the best teams in football. And now they look a lot more just like, oh, it's kind of the same old Chargers, which is a bummer because I think that team could have been really good prior to all of the injuries that they've dealt with. But that's what's so impressive about what Baker's doing. Like, he's doing it while navigating all of that stuff that other teams are navigating. And we've seen them decline in play, and the Bucs just haven't declined, which is insane because you don't see teams navigate that stuff very well a lot of the time.
Well, the teams that you see navigate it well are the Chiefs, just for the record.
And like Stafford, like I think Stafford, if he keeps it up, like I think the Rams quietly
I could see that too.
Have the case is like the Rams are like legitimately one of the sleeper teams in the NFC where it's like if they can get everybody on the field together and Puka stays healthy, like the Rams are a legitimately scary team as long as Stafford holds up. It's just that the Rams are such a top heavy roster. It is all contingent upon Matthew Stafford being healthy and Puka Nacua staying healthy for them to like be in that conversation.
They were my Super Bowl pick coming into the year. I had Chiefs over Rams, and I'm not a coward, so I won't back away from it. Yeah. But I will admit that the offensive line woes have been a problem. And as soon as the Bucs get healthy, I just don't see a team better in the conference than them. Baker's better than Jalen Hurts. Like, I don't even think it's a question. Baker is better than Jared Goff. I don't think it's a question. Baker is worse than Matthew Stafford. But the defense is so good that I just think the totality of the team makes them the favorite.
Like Dak Prescott has been absolutely insane this season. Like he's playing as good as any quarterback in the league. The problem is the Cowboys just aren't a good football team. So like
the defense is so bad.
Yeah, like
if only they had Micah Parsons
last week, like despite Dak Prescott playing out of his mind because their defense can't stop anyone to save their lives. So like the Cowboys aren't in it. Jaden Daniels has missed time and it hasn't quite looked like he's taken this next huge step. And I think that's probably in part due to injury. And like Terry McLaurin just like hasn't been healthy for majority of the season. Lost Austin Eckler early. Like the Commanders just haven't, after that NFC Championship game run last year, like they haven't taken that like full next step just yet. But I think they could
they're the NFC Texans.
Yeah, like they could still turn this thing around, but I think like even after all the moves that they made this offseason to try to like put them over the top, you're right. Like it feels totally like what the Texans did. That just wasn't even enough, and their offensive line was just a legitimate problem. But I think Drake May is an interesting case where it's like he's at plus 1,600 right now, and it feels kind of fake, because you're just like the Patriots aren't that good, but they're 4-2. They're certainly surpassing, I think, every expectation anybody could have had for the New England Patriots through 6 weeks of the season. And they can't run the ball, which is really surprising because I think Travion Henderson is really, really good. But we've seen this with Mike Vrabel before. Like, remember how long it took Mike Vrabel to just commit to Derrick Henry as their starting running back? And it was really frustrating. Yes. Like, Vrabel's just that annoying, like old school minded head coach because that's how it was when he was in the NFL, where he's just like, you don't get on the field just because you're a talented rookie. Like you gotta get your reps in and you gotta prove your worth and all of that stuff. And so it's like feels like they're never going to do that with Travion Henderson and let him learn on the fly. And so they were still trotting out, Ramondre Stevenson, who's been okay, and then Antonio Gibson, who did just suffer a season-ending injury, unfortunately. So, but May has been doing it with like an offensive line that has improved, but still isn't like special, and like old Stephon Diggs, and then Kayshon Boutte,
who's been good,
Mario Douglas, Like Drake May has been legitimately impressive, and I think has taken the biggest like year two leap of any second year quarterback so far. And I think he's out of that group. Like he doesn't have a chance to sniff an MVP. Like let's be legitimate here. Like the Patriots are going to lose some bad football teams, and they're going to come back down to earth. But they have improved enough, and he's improved enough as a player that like Drake May is one of the most interesting young quarterbacks in all of the NFL.
I would, excuse me, I would put money on Drake May being the most bet 2026 MVP because he has truly been impressive. And if I were to make a ballot just off the top of my head, I'd probably have him somewhere between 6 and 8. Like, he's been awesome. And I think that they've nailed it. And it's just a matter of whether or not that, they can surround him, like you said, with the playmakers. Booty's been solid, but they don't have that true number one, even though Diggs has had a couple good games. I like the Patriots, honestly, with their direction. And it's hilarious that the Titans are now scrambling after firing Mike Vrabel, rather, as well, or firing Brian Callahan after firing Mike Vrabel, because that's an organization that could use that kind of defense. And I think the Patriots are suddenly turning around to become a team that could be contended with. And given Sean McDermott's struggles, I don't think it's out of bounds to suggest that the Patriots have the best coach in the division. And I like Drake May a lot. And Caleb Williams is having a good season. Jaden Daniels is not. But Drake May looks like he should have been the number one pick if you're doing it purely based off of this season. Last year, obviously, with Jaden Daniels. But this season, it looks like Drake.
Yeah, and that's just because Ryan Poles, I think, is one of the worst general managers in football.
I hate Ryan Poles. He's
terrible. He's convinced everyone in the Bears organization that he's like one of the brightest minds in the league.
Because he worked for the Chiefs, and that's why my fingers are crossed.
It's like because he has not been a good front office decision maker at all.
Well, we have Mike Borgonzi over in Tennessee. Maybe he takes Nagy off our hands so we get EB back.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly he's in the conversation, at least getting some looks. And honestly, like, I like Eric Bieniemy as a coach. I wouldn't hate it if the Chiefs brought him back, but I would also really like to see the Chiefs like get younger on the coaching staff at some point. Like
Joe Brady.
Yes, they're amazing. They're amazing. They've won Super Bowls. Like I'm not saying they have to, but it would be nice to see them like how they brought up like Mike Kafka along their like coaching staff. Like I would like to see them like lean a little bit more into some youth.
That's probably Connor Embry then, and I don't feel comfortable about that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I want that either, but
that would be the guy, right?
Yeah, I mean probably
or
the youngest member.
His name's escaping me. The defensive backs coach. That'd be the guy. Dave Merritt.
Yes,
that would be the guy.
Yeah,
but he's defensive, and we're not going to lose Spagnuolo, so it would have to be Embry.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
It'd be Connor Embry or like Joe Bleemeyer or something.
No, I'm good.
But yeah, so I do think I'm excited about this MVP race and all of these guys, but it does kind of feel like at this point, as long as the Chiefs continue to win and this offense continues to explode, that now it's already, as we head into week 7, like it's already somehow just Patrick Mahomes' award to lose. And it kind of brings us to our next thing, because you told me before we jumped on here, Joe, that you went to Patrick Mahomes' new restaurant, 1587 Prime. It's him and Travis Kelce. They opened here in Kansas City. I've driven past it. I haven't been there yet. I do kind of want to go try it because like the menu looks pretty good. It is certainly pricey. But I haven't really talked to anybody who's eaten there. Like a lot of people, because I know they gave some media because they wanted the media to come in and like eat the food and write reviews about it. And I've seen some reviews that were like, oh, it's like hit and miss, but there's some really, really good things. And like the atmosphere and the aesthetic and everything, like it's a nice experience. And, I like food. I've eaten at some very, very fancy restaurants, and I'll probably
I know you like food.
I go to 1587 Prime. But what was your experience like? Because I'm just curious. I'm just curious if it's something I really need to like work to like go try here in the near future.
So I'll go the good, then the bad. The good, the food was pretty tasty. It wasn't the level that I paid for it, but it was good. And I had these Wagyu meatballs. They had a singer walking up and down the tables, which was really neat. I got this that like the Alchemist drink for Taylor Swift that they light on fire and then it like burns down and adds extra flavors. All of that was really cool. And I would say go once. The bad, it was not worth the price. They charged for water. It was $5.50 for a bottle, or not for a bottle, for a glass of still water. Didn't ask for sparkling. I could see charging for sparkling water. They charged for water. And then, so I got a drink. I got a martini, and it was like really big and bolded on the menu. It was very obvious that was their drink. And so they had a $23 one and a $33 one. I asked for the $23 one. And then in the terms and conditions at the bottom, it says that they're going to bring it to you in a cart and add $10. So it was $33 either way. And they didn't tell me. And they brought it to me in a cart, and it was neat, but it just said it in the terms and conditions.
Wait, so why is there options then if it costs $33 no matter what? So does the $33 one really cost $43?
I think so. I told the waiter, hey, I want this $23 one because I saw the price of the other things in the menu. And so then it was $33 and they charged $5.50 for water. I got 2 waters. It was $11. I've never seen water be charged for ever. The food was good, but what the fuck?
So, I mean, all of this seems like it's just not something I'm gonna go eat because they're charging a $10 service charge for like they literally bring it to you on like a drink cart.
Yeah, and it was cool, and they made it in front of me. And to be honest, if I knew ahead of time, I might have paid for it, but I didn't know ahead of time.
Yeah, but like I don't need to pay $10 for that. I'd rather you just make it behind the bar and bring me the drink.
Yeah, and
like, I don't give a shit about tableside drink service. Just bring me the drink.
They didn't put an olive in it either. I don't know what the fruit was, but it was some kind of fruit that looked like mold, and it kind of looked like a really tiny pickle with mold on it. It was not an olive. And I don't know what it was. It did taste good, but I got taken for a whirl.
Like blue cheese stuffed something.
Like I didn't eat it. Cheese? I didn't eat it. I let my cousin eat it.
Yeah, because I know there's like blue cheese stuffed olives, so it's probably like something stuffed with blue cheese or something like that.
We looked at the bill. I saw $11 for my water. Unbelievable.
That's insane. Like that's enough to like upset me to the point where I wouldn't go. Like because I've been to some very fancy restaurants. Like I have a couple of buddies that's like our thing. Like we do it like once or twice a year. We go visit one of our friends in Denver, or he comes here and we get a reservation in a really fancy restaurant and we go.
Oh, Baldwin?
And we'll spend, $250, $300 a person, like on dinner, but we all split it. And so we try a bunch of different things and we get the full experience and it's great. And I love doing that kind of stuff, but they don't charge for water. They might charge for other things that restaurants don't because they're fancy, but charging for water and then charging $10 for making it at the table is insane. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I would go Anton's or Peropos, not to just hand out free advertising, but I tried 1587. It was cool to be at. It was during the Lions game. We won. And I will say that the person singing songs and like walking around was really neat. But I hope to never be charged $5.50 for a glass of water again.
If you want a Wagyu sandwich, I highly recommend the Wagyu Reuben from Bay Boy. It is quite tremendous.
The meatballs were awesome. I will say, like the food was really good.
I'm sure the food's pretty good. I know it's pricey, but somebody was telling me about the chef that they've hired over there. So like I'm sure the food's good and the experience is fun, but that seems a little ridiculous. I think Mahomes and Kelce can eat the cost of water. Like I don't know.
I hope.
I don't know what kind of water.
If not, Taylor can.
Is it the water? Like, is it like glacier water that they're importing or something? Like, I think they could eat the cost of the water. So that seems a little ridiculous. But I don't know. I'll still, inevitably, if somebody convinces me to go, I'll probably still go.
I think it's worth going. Just be prepared.
So this was something you wanted to talk about, Joe, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, and I'll pass it off to you to kind of see where you're headed with this, and then see if I agree, because I don't know as much about the subject as you do, and so I just thought it was an interesting conversation, because the Nightly Fix listeners know we have spent plenty of time talking WNBA, and it's not as if I'm a big WNBA fan. But Ron Hughley is, and Osita loves Caitlin Clark. And so this is something I thought we could have a fun discussion around, just based off of what your opinion is here.
So there are a few things to consider. First of all, the T-Mobile Center obviously doesn't have a permanent tenant. We do concerts, but the goal that's been reported is that Patrick Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes will bring a WNBA team to the city. That's the dream, just like the NWSL with the KC Current. The WNBA is in a period of rapid expansion. So they're adding a ton of teams, like the San Francisco just got one. They're adding one to Philadelphia, things like that. We are theoretically at the top of the list for the next expansion. However, if you have watched any WNBA news at all, which is it's okay if you haven't, because they just ended their season with a championship for the Las Vegas Aces, who were the Kansas City Chiefs of the WNBA. But their commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, was called out by one of the league's best players, who said that she essentially didn't care about their health, didn't care about their referee problems, didn't care about their salaries. And it was maybe the most direct call out of a commissioner that we've ever seen. So Kathy Engelbert is not expected to return as commissioner after this winter, during which a new CBA will be agreed to. So there's going to be a new commissioner, or she's going to agree to a new CBA and then pass the baton off to a new commissioner, which is a problem because she's negotiated some bad deals in the past that have gotten Caitlin Clark's annual salary right now, and obviously she has endorsements, but her annual salary right now is $70,000. I could get that working at T-Mobile. So that's a problem. So she's negotiating the deal, and that could leave Kansas City looking more like a 2035 type of situation, which reminds me of Rob Manfred, because the ways that he has addressed the problems in his league and the ways that he has, I'll admit the pitch clock is excellent, but the constant issues with umpires and with the lack of salary cap and the Dodgers just crushing everyone, things like that people criticize him for, she has that issue. And he can't expand his league to the way that he wants to, because you obviously see it with the Savannah Bananas trying to go to Korea and Japan and things like that. He wants to expand, but he can't because he's not a good leader, just like Kathy Engelbert. And Engelbert is going to hurt Kansas City, in my opinion. And it's the exact same thing as what Rob Manfred is doing to Kansas City, or doing to the MLB.
Well, and like in baseball, I think their problem too has always been like baseball won't let go of the idea that they're not America's pastime anymore, and that they're not the biggest sport in the country. Like they still want to be treated like they are, even though everybody knows it's the NFL and everybody knows that, like, yeah, baseball, you're just simply not going to touch football ever again. Like it's just never, ever going to happen. And that's why, like, ESPN was like, we don't give a shit about baseball anymore. Like ESPN was like, oh, fine. You don't want to cut us. You don't want to cut us a discount on our new TV contract. Go shop it somewhere else. See who's willing to give you a bunch of money to air all these baseball games and take off other like primetime programming to air that stuff that nobody wants to watch. And like that's always been their issue, is they still want to be treated like it's the most watched sport in the country, and it just simply hasn't been that way for a long time. Like half the time you can't even figure out how to watch a baseball game locally anymore. But the WNBA, like we talked about this here on the Nightly Fix, and like this has been a problem in every sports league as it's continued to grow and grow. And like you go back to the days of like the NBA in the 80s and like, and then in the 90s when it like absolutely explodes with Michael Jordan. There's always fights when you see like astronomical rises in popularity, and the WNBA has gone through that over the last few years, then especially with Caitlin Clark, where it was inevitably going to come to this. And I do think there's some bitterness with like Caitlin Clark as a player because she's not like outspoken and she has the platform that she has. And I do think like some of the criticisms of her by other athletes in the WNBA are totally valid, in my opinion. Because she could use her voice and her platform to like influence a lot more change than I think she is willing to do. But like this is a fight in every sport, just the same way that it is in every business. Like it's as soon as the people at the top start raking in the money and they're like, oh, well, this is the way that it's always been. Why would we change this now? Because they don't want to give up the assets. They don't want to give up the money and the bonuses that they're seeing because they're the ones that are raking in all of the money from off of these players' backs. And inevitably they will come to a new deal. They will see more money because it's comical how little those women are paid right now. But this is just like a struggle in like any economic climate. And it's a fight that like everybody has to go through. And it was inevitably going to come to the WNBA because 5 to 10 years ago, like this isn't something that they were desperately trying to get on TV. And now ESPN straight up like, we'll air the WNBA over baseball because it's grown so much in popularity. And so like just as in any other sport, though, it's like worked out to where like these TV deals, like that raises the NFL salary cap. The players in the NBA have all of the control when it comes to the money. And that's why they negotiated these massive contracts. And then the team's payoff was like, okay, but then we get the first rights of extension so we can control you longer if you agree to a deal. And that's how you make the most money. Like they just have to work that stuff out, and it's going to be a fight no matter what. But that's because that's how these things always play out.
Yeah, and just I don't necessarily am declaring myself as right or wrong, but the Caitlin Clark thing being like outspoken for some of those issues facing Kathy Engelbert, I think she should have been louder. She's also 23, and when you and I were 23, we were probably not that well equipped to be able to be the face of like a legitimate CBA negotiation issue. So I'm willing to cut her some slack there. I think that she's shown signs, and I think that this winter is going to be really interesting. The like Asia Wilson is who I think is going to lead it, or Natasha, and that'll be the key part. I think Caitlin just needs to like. I mean, she can't rent a car yet. She's 3 years away from renting a car. You know, like she shouldn't necessarily be expected to be that.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. Like this is something that needs to be like veteran players need to be at the front of. Like
yeah.
And then if she wants to be incorporated into that, that'd be great because she should be. But
she should be. But if she doesn't, then like I don't blame her. I was at Power and Light with you when I was 23. So.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm not criticizing her because she is still a very young player, but like, yes, like I do think that some of that comes from the players like wanting her to step up, knowing her platform, because all of them, like she's part of the reason the platform has become so big now.
Well, and the interesting thing that connects to Rob Manfred, I will give him credit. I think that the changes that he's made over the last several years are really important. They help baseball. Like baseball is a more enjoyable product, in my opinion. So how does the WNBA hire an ex-commissioner that has a vision that's going to accelerate the sport and expand it? Because you want to get to like 30 teams ultimately, like as many markets as possible is good, which involves us. So that's Rob Manfred has pivoted solid. His first portion of his tenure was disastrous. So I want to see who the WNBA hires.
All right. It's time for our fantasy football picks. I get to go first,
Joe,
since I won last week. Again, I've now won back-to-back weeks. We're at 3-2 because we missed a week in there. So Osita won the first 3 weeks. I went down 3-0. I've climbed back to 3-2. Got a chance to get to 500 here with another win. And Osita didn't send in his pick, so Joe is picking for him once again. I get to go first because I won last week. I am taking Patrick Mahomes against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Shit, I was gonna take that.
That's easy QB1 right there this week.
Yeah. Dang it. I thought you were gonna go weird. All right. You know what? Okay. So if Jaden Daniels doesn't start, can I sub him out?
No.
Because he would be my pick. Okay, then I won't go him. Let's go Baker. The Bake Show. Baker
at Detroit on Monday Night Football. Okay. By the way, can I complain about these 9 p.m. Monday Night Football games? It's ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know why we're doing that. Like, nobody is watching those except for people on the West Coast. Like, I don't want to stay up that late on a Monday night.
I'm trying to catch up on tasks.
I do kind of like the staggered Monday Night Football double headers. Like, I'm not opposed to those. It's just the 9 p.m. ones, just because they're West Coast games, is absurd. Like, we don't need that.
Just move one to Tuesday. I'd rather have more days of football.
Yeah, I don't think I can fit more days of football into my schedule, though. Okay, my running back. I am going to go with Josh Jacobs at the Arizona Cardinals.
I like
Josh Jacobs, like, he hasn't been, like, overly impressive with the yards this season, but he gets all the goal line work. He, like, is just, like, for 2 straight years now with the Packers, has been this super solid, like, fringe RB1 that doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And there's nobody in that backfield that takes away touches from him. When they get in the red zone, they run the football. Josh Jacobs gets touchdowns.
I would be remiss after making a case for Bijan Robinson to be the best MVP value pick to not ride with my guy. Youngest to 4,000 scrimmage yards in Falcons history, just 39 games. He's currently on pace to break the NFL all-time season record with 2,509, set by, Chris Johnson, 2009.
At San Francisco. I believe that's the Sunday night game. Okay, so Bijan Robinson, and then my wide receiver. Who do I want to take? See, this is where I've been going a little bit off the beaten path here at wide receiver.
Mine's obvious.
I kind of want to take Rashee Rice. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stack.
That's who I'm taking.
I'm going to stack.
That's who I'm taking.
Rashee Rice with Patrick Mahomes. Why not?
Dang it. That's exactly. You took my guy. You know I love him.
I got Rashee Rice in one league. Very excited to have him back. I've got Rashee Rice and Puka in that league, so I really want Puka to play this week.
I'm so upset that he took Rashee from me. You know how much I love him. I was going to do the whole Rasheesh. All right, let's go. That was the only pick I knew for sure.
It still works because I've been throwing curveballs with the wide receiver and it has worked out.
All right, you know what? Let's go Jackson Smith and Jigba. Let's go Jackson Smith and Jigba.
JSN was my number 2 probably. And that's the 9 p.m. Monday Night Football game. So Joe wants you to stay up late on Monday night. So
just Serda specifically.
Okay, so those are our week 7 fantasy football picks. See if Joe can get Osita back in the win column or if I get to 500. Thank you guys for hanging out with us this week on the Nightly Fix. Ron Osita should be back next week. Should be back to normal schedule this week. Just had a lot going on this week. Had to navigate some stuff. So appreciate it as always. Thank you guys. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Me and Rocky will be back post-game show immediately following the Chiefs' first noon kickoff of the season. So excited for a noon kickoff. Thank God. Thank you to Joe for hanging out with us. Follow him on Twitter at I am Joe Summers. We'll be back Friday morning. Me and Brandon Kiley, another episode of Show and BK. Be on the lookout for that. We'll talk to you guys then.